In a League of Their Own podcast is brought to you by Smooth My Balls. Are you sick of snagging your nuts or cutting yourself with a generic Bic razor or generic clipper? Well, now you don't have to worry. Smooth My Balls offers a 5-star below the belt care for men, starting with the Turf Chopper 3.0, the next level razor that provides a very smooth and clean finish with no cuts on your sack. And coming in for the closer, you got the Pube Muncher 1.0, a compact mini vac that cleans up a job with no hair left behind. Head over to smoothmyballs.com today and use code LEAGUE at checkout for 15% off your top of the line men's grooming kit. Again, that's LEAGUE, LEAGUE, for 15% off. Smooth My Balls, shave like a pro.
Rep Sports. Rep Sports is a leading supplements and nutrition company that provides everything from pre-workout and protein to recovery supplements. If you're looking for a healthy pick-me-up, Rep also offers Raise Energy, a zero sugar drink that helps with workout and recovery, mental focus as well. Head over to repsports.com today and use code LEAGUE for 15% off your order. That's LEAGUE for 15% off.
Golf kicks. Tired of wearing the same old boring golf shoes? Not the most comfortable? Now you don't have to worry. Customize all types of shoes, from Crocs to flip-flops, sneakers to boat shoes, and wear them in style while you rip it up on the course. Head over to golfkicks.com and use code OWN20 at checkout to get a 20% discount on your order. That's OWN20. Screw your shoes.
Streamer Loot. Want to rep the best up-and-coming sports podcast? Of course you do. Head over to streamerloot.co today and check out our first line of merch. We have t-shirts, sweatshirts, mugs, and stickers. Again, that is streamerloot.co to check out our merch. Hey everybody, it is Monday, May 17th, 2021. The Stanley Cup playoffs are underway, and is Steph Curry now the front runner for MVP?
There goes that man's jock strap. Oh my God, did you see that? America's team? Yeah, right.
Oh, baby, it's a big day in sports. There's nothing like battling it out with your teammates all season long to go win a championship.
Green Bay's got it this year.
Huge move for them. I think it's going to be a game changer.
We have a lot to talk about this busy week in the sports world. Welcome to the In a League of Their Own podcast.
All right, again, everybody, welcome to the show. It is Monday, a lot of stuff going on over the weekend. Jumping in right to the NFL world. What is the latest over there?
Latest, Ryan Kerrigan, all-time leading sack leader for the Washington football team, has now been signed to the Philadelphia Eagles. That is a big move on their end. I feel like for a team that's kind of in a dumpster fire rebuild, bringing in a vet like that who can, let alone do some pretty heavy damage by himself on the defense. I feel like this move will maybe get Philly maybe one or two more wins.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Ryan Kerrigan has been one of those just bullheaded linebackers. Stays relatively healthy. He's in on just about every play. He's usually in the top 5, top 10 for tackles every year. He's just one of those guys you kind of build your defense around. And like you said, the Eagles defense has been kind of a laughing stock ever since they won the Super Bowl a few years back. So yeah, I could definitely see him being a good addition for that defense. And like you said, getting them an extra win or two for the year.
Yeah, absolutely. And then another vet going to a team that will help them out. Kelvin Benjamin signs a contract with the New York Giants. His size out on the edge, I feel like, is definitely going to help Daniel Jones. He's had plenty of moments during games where you see him and it's just like, he makes a play and it's just like, wow, like what a play. And then there's a handful of plays where it's just like, dude, what are you doing? Like, you're an NFL quarterback. I feel like now adding, you bring in Tony. Now you have Benjamin, the big tall guy on the opposite side. You got a speed guy and you got a tall guy. I feel like this really does help the New York Giants. And I could see them potentially winning the East if that offense really comes together and clicks.
Yeah, I mean, aside from those two, they went out and got Kenny Golladay, arguably a top 10 receiver, closer to the 10 than the one side, but still.
And then
top 10
Saquon
receiver.
coming back.
Yep. And then you got Evan Ingram. They go and get Kyle Rudolph. You got Sterling Shepard, who's decent.
They built up that team.
Yeah.
Under the radar too. It's naming all these players. It's like none of that made super big headlines, and now you read off their roster, and it's like, damn, they did some work.
No, I think that the Giants, when they acquired all these guys, was about the same time as when Bill Belichick had his spending spree. It was around that same time, so that kind of took headlines over this. So the Giants made a bunch of moves, but like you said, it's kind of under the radar because I think it was about the same time Bill was doing all his stuff. So they kind of quietly went out and got a bunch of vets who I'd say Kyle Rudolph is probably the least valuable one that they got, which is still not bad because obviously a lot of people are familiar with that name for his time over in Minnesota. So yeah, I think that the East is going to be interesting to watch this year. Cowboys should be back. Washington football team is going to be better. They made the playoffs last year, and the Giants as well. The Eagles are definitely going to be probably at the bottom of that division, but even still, with them getting Kerrigan now, it bumps them up a little bit. So NFC East might not be as much of a laughing stock as it was in years past.
Yeah, absolutely. And then my last point here on the East, Tony actually was spotted over the weekend running routes barefoot. Turns out that their equipment guy had a little bit of a fuck up and got him the wrong size cleats. So he said, nah, I ain't wearing these.
Yeah, I saw that, or he went like with, at one point you saw wearing like black socks, black cleats, white socks, white cleats. He like changed them 3 or 4 times. And yeah, it was just an equipment malfunction. He's like, fuck it, I'm just gonna go barefoot today. So
yeah, these cleats were turns out like a size and a half too small. So that'd be tough cramming your feet in.
yeah, no, that would suck.
And then let's get off to probably one of the bigger things that we talked about last week. Juwan James getting cut by the Denver Broncos and them choosing to basically keep that 9.8 million guarantee that they were supposed to owe him. Coming out now, he is filing a grievance suit to in turn get that money. I feel like they should pay him that money. As now you have the Denver Broncos have another member, a wide receiver, who had hurt himself and torn a ligament in his knee doing workouts outside the facility. So it's going to be interesting to see, are they going to cut him too and just go sign somebody else for cheaper? Or I don't know what their plan is out there. But how do you feel about this? Like, what messages, to me, this message is sending to the players? I ain't going to do anything that's going to risk me even you slip in the shower and get hurt at home. You know what I mean? Like anything outside of the facility. I ain't doing anything that could potentially hurt myself.
Yeah, I think this is just kind of solidifying even more and more that these players are expendable. I think over the past couple of years, you're starting to see these contracts that are kind of eye-opening. Like Rodgers not getting guaranteed money. Over the past year or two, you're starting to see voidable contracts. So it's just kind of making these players more expendable and showing them, hey, if you either get in some off the field antics, whether it's drug or abuse or anything like that, or if you injure yourself, we'll just go and find somebody new. Because, I mean, as sad as it is to say, the NFL or just the football industry in general is probably the deepest as far as people behind the NFL that you could go to. You got college football, you got the CFL, you got arena football, you got semi-pro, you got like probably thousands more players waiting for that call for football than you do the NBA and hockey. Hockey would probably be pretty close there too, just for how many leagues are outside of that, but also a hockey roster is a fraction of an NFL roster too. So when you have at this time of year, you got 70, 80 guys in your building, but only 51 of them are going to stay on the roster for the year. That's 20, 30 times 32 teams. That's that many guys just right now that could be waiting for the call. That's not given the guys who played college and never got the call, or like I said, semi-pro, all those things. So it's just showing these players, hey, if you fuck up or get injured or whatever off the field, it's not going to be hard for them to find somebody new. And that Jawan James, I think 2 days later, they went out and found his replacement. So it didn't didn't take long for them in the midst of that whole drama. They were like, well, it's still a business, so still got to find our guy. And that's the sad part of it too is, yes, the NFL is a business when it all comes down to it. There might be hurt feelings for a certain organization with how you part ways with them, but at the same time, deep down, you have to realize it's a business and they have to do what they do to save money and win football games.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And just the fact that, like you said, I feel like the NFL is the most expendable league that you can, because it doesn't. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, these players who are that good at their craft, but let's be honest here. You could take any 6'6", 250-pound, 300-pound guy and put him on the line and tell him, hey, run into this guy. Like the technique, yeah, that takes some time to get used to, but you can teach anybody how to do that. As far as some of these other sports like baseball, basketball, hockey, golf, like you can't take an average person off the street and have them go out there and be okay/average. Like that takes so much practice at your craft, where the NFL, that's why I do feel like you do see a lot of these players cut all this type of stuff, and teams treating these players like a number, which they are in every sport they are, but it almost just feels like some of these other sports do seem to care a little bit more about their players.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it'd be interesting to see what happens. Like you said, there's a second guy on the team who's kind of in a similar situation, to see if they keep him, if they cut him, if they're going to avoid his salary for the year, what's going to happen there. But yeah, it's a shame to see these guys doing off-season workouts on their own time to get that advantage to make the roster or be a top 10 in their respective field. And then they get hurt, which sucks alone. And then on top of it, oh, we're going to not pay you for the year, or even worse, you're going to get cut, because then nobody else is going to pick you up because you have a season-ending injury. Nobody's going to pick you up until next year. So now you got to work through rehab for 8 to 12 months and then prove you're still a good option for a different team or the same team. Although I doubt he'd go back to the Broncos after what happened with him there. But yeah, we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, and then my last point about the NFL here that I think was probably one of the coolest things. Saints rookie Nolan Cooney. He was diagnosed with testicular cancer, which had spread to his lungs back in his junior year of high school. He had overcame that, and he had went to Syracuse University. He could potentially become an NFL punter. The Saints signed him undrafted out of Syracuse. And the coolest part to the story, not just him overcoming the cancer and all of that, but he learned how to punt off of watching YouTube videos. And he is arguably one of the nation's best punters this last season in college football. So that's pretty amazing to see, especially the technology world that we live in now. I can even tell you, I've watched YouTube videos and learned how to change some things in my car. You know what I mean? Like YouTube has broadened the spectrum so much, where definitely I feel like it's going to make these athletes better and better. Just because that's like walking up to a grade and asking them how they do something. Now you can just go to YouTube and check out a video of somebody doing something and be like, oh, okay, that's how they do. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like the greatness is being spread a lot more with people on how to do stuff. So that, and in turn, that's why you're starting to see sports at every level, all sports increase. It's always going to keep getting better and better and better. And who knows what that eventually there's got to be a peak where people can only get so good, but who's to tell how high that ceiling can go?
For sure. And it's funny you mentioned that too. With Tom Brady, his whole TB12 thing with his supplements and his workout routines and his football techniques. Aaron Rodgers came out, or Alfie came out, but it was just, I saw something about that. He's watched some of Tom Brady's videos and read some of his books about his technique. So it's crazy to see that Aaron Rodgers is right up there in the same category with Tom Brady, but yet he's looking to get some knowledge from the GOAT too. So doesn't matter what level you're at, whether you're new to a sport or one of the greatest, you're always looking for knowledge, whether it's from other people that you compete with every day or from an expert who's put millions of dollars and years of research into whatever you're looking to improve about your body or your technique.
Right. Yeah, it's amazing. And if you're a quarterback out there, I wouldn't be surprised if there's not one quarterback out there who hasn't read something Tom Brady related, because he's set the bar. I mean, him this late in his career, probably it seems like on the outside looking in, obviously we don't know these people, but it seems like he dedicates so much more time than everybody else to the sport of football, and more so towards being the best quarterback that he can be, because seeing Psycho Tom is just like, you can see it when he puts the helmet on. His eyes fucking are laser beam dialed, and like whatever he does to flip that switch and be the greatest quarterback of all time, and continuing to do it at the age that he's at, clearly he knows some tips and tricks, and I'm glad that he's sharing that. And like, we're seeing the NFL obviously changing the rules helps that too, but quarterbacks extending their careers, being able to play till, who knows, GM for Tampa said they'd keep him till he's 50. So that'd be pretty insane to see a 50-year-old quarterback out there. And then that meme video that you sent me that went viral over the internet with Tom Brady and the Super Bowls thing, like, how funny would that be if he's in the Super Bowl every year until he hangs it up?
Yeah. No, yeah, he's definitely one of those pinnacles of sports. Him along with LeBron James, they put millions of dollars into their body every year in nutrition and fitness and all of that kind of stuff. And
But unfortunately, it didn't help LeBron this year, though.
No. Yeah, so I don't know what went wrong there for him, but at the same time, you can't, when you
Space Jam, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he just tweaked his ankle coming down on it wrong. No matter how good of an athlete you are, your body has its limits.
Right, but I'm saying him in past years has only been playing basketball and still doing what he's been doing off the court.
Mm-hmm.
This offseason, he filmed Space Jam, which is more basketball than the workload, and now you're taking on this. I just feel like he maybe mismanaged his his load management. I feel like maybe for the one time in his life that he's maybe tried to do too much.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. That's interesting you bring that up, because it's been pretty much to a T the same every year, and then this past year has been different, and then this injury comes out of left field and hinders him for the rest of the season, if not the rest of his career, because he'd mentioned, I don't know if I'll ever get back to 100%. Does that mean this year? Does that mean forever? I guess we'll find out next year if he's missing time for soreness or just fatigue. But yeah.
Is this the last dance for LeBron?
Yeah, I mean, kind of using it as a tangent to go over into the NBA here. Season's locked up. It looks like they're going to be playing the Warriors for the play-in tournament, 7 versus 8. Which is going to be a crazy, really good matchup. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if the reigning champs make an early exit, don't even make the playoffs technically, because the play-in tournament is not the playoffs, it's its own thing. So I don't know. It's gonna be interesting if he can stay 100%. I don't know. It's going to be hard for him.
They'll make the playoffs, whether it's the 7 or the 8th. They'll make the playoffs, but the question is,
well, he could still.
Right, but what does he have left in the tank to get through? Because they're going to be playing the Jazz, right? They're the number 1
out of the West.
Yeah, because the 8th.
Yeah,
because I think Golden State's going to beat them. Then they're going to end up winning out, and they're going to be the 8th seed, and then they're going to go in right off the turn and play Utah, who's deep, big, physical, too much for the Lakers, and I feel like that's gonna be their exit, is in round 1.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see them falling out of the play-in, because obviously whoever because 10 and 9 play each other, and then whoever loses of 7 and 8 plays the winner of 9 versus 10. And I guess just kind of jumping into those matchups here right away. Like you said, Lakers and Warriors 7 versus 8, and then the Spurs and Grizzlies are 9 versus 10. I don't see whether the Warriors or the Lakers lose. I don't see either of them losing to the Spurs or the Grizzlies, but you never know. If LeBron, I don't know if LeBron would play through an injury if he like re-aggravates or just gets sore, because they only get a day off, because I believe it's the East plays tomorrow, and then the West plays Wednesday, and then the East would play Thursday, the West would play Friday for like the final seed, whoever gets the 8th seed. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see, because he's gonna be playing back to back right away, and then that's not even the playoffs. And then after that, he'd have to go in and play either the Jazz or would it be the Clippers, whether they're the 8th seed or the 7th seed if they end up beating the Warriors.
Phoenix is number 2, I thought.
Phoenix, yep, you're right. Which would both be tough teams for the Lakers.
Even the Clippers to the 3rd spot would be a tough team to play.
Yeah, so no matter what, it's kind of a tough road for the Lakers. But again, when you got LeBron on your team,
his back's against the wall. It's been against the wall his whole career, dude, and he's never let the people down. Don't get me wrong, he hasn't won all the titles, but it's like, for what he's been able to do with his back against the wall every single fucking year, hats off to the guy. Like, you can't knock what LeBron has done.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's debatable. Him, Kevin Durant, greatest player right now. But for what he's done to basketball, the sport, he's like MJ 2.0 on what he brought to the league. Like, Jordan was the first guy to overseas, was huge, in Europe and Japan and all this. And then Kobe helped really push the game over in China and that. And now you got LeBron, who basically is tying all of it together. And you have the world that loves the NBA.
Kind of sticking with what you said about greatest player. Again, with the regular season being done, the talk of the league has been Mr. Steph Curry. Yesterday, he dropped 46 points. Locking down the 8th seed again for the play-in tournament. Do you think Curry's hot streak at the end here is enough to give him the nod for MVP, or at least put him in that conversation with Jokic and Embiid?
Yeah, he's got to be in the conversation. You have no Klay Thompson this season. Your team has really been battling all season long without the depth that they used to have. So yeah, I feel like when it comes to most valuable player to a team and what they provide to a team, I feel like right now, with him fighting and getting them even into the playoff tournament, I feel like says enough alone. And maybe if he doesn't win the MVP, he should win Offensive Player of the Year. And same, like if Steph wins, Embiid should win Defensive Player of the, you know what I mean? So arguable between all of those, but those 3 should get all of those awards.
Yeah, for sure. And he locked up the scoring title this year as well. I don't know how close it was, but again, dropping 46 points. He's got like comparable numbers to his unanimous MVP season. I think in a couple areas it's even better. So it's crazy that he's matching, if not in some areas doing better than his unanimous MVP season, and he's not already just the automatic MVP, because it's like, if he was the first ever guy to get a unanimous MVP and then he matches that, how do you not give it to him again? So it's kind of interesting, I guess, how that thought process goes for whatever council of people decide who the MVP is. But yeah, it's just interesting how, obviously they shouldn't just give it to Curry because, you matched your unanimous MVP season, but at the same time, they're not like giving him the benefit of the doubt at the moment.
Right. Yeah, that's incredible. And then one other thing that I do have to give a nod to in the NBA for something that's pretty incredible is Kyrie Irving becomes the 13th player in NBA history of a 50, 40, 90, 50 over 58% field goal percentage, 40% from the three-pointer, and he's a 92 at the free throw line. So incredible. Like that team's going to be tough to beat. It's all the stars are lining up for them, and it seems like they're about to just blow it off the top. So
Yeah, I almost wonder if because whoever wins, whoever the 7 seed is, plays the Nets. Whoever the 8 seed is, plays the 76ers. Obviously, well, I shouldn't say obviously. I prefer to play the 76ers over the Nets, at least early on, because like over the past couple of days, they're all back on the court together, and they've had arguably one of the greatest plays of the year from their game yesterday with Griffin going behind the back, Curry to, I don't know if it was Joe Harris, and then Harris off the glass, and Durant slams it home. It was just a really cool, one of the plays, questionably the play of the year. So all those guys are back on the court together, and they look phenomenal. But if you're going to take them down, you got to take them down early, because if they get hot, if they 4-0 the first round, or even 4-1, and they get hot, it's going to be hard to dethrone them at that point. So yeah, I guess whoever comes out of that play-in tournament to play them, probably Lakers or Warriors. Yeah, it's actually going to be funny, because I don't see the Spurs or Grizzlies moving on. So basically, Lakers or Warriors, they're going to flop between 7 or 8 seed, and it's going to be a tall task for both teams playing the 76ers or no, the Suns or the Jazz right away.
yeah, both those teams are really good. After watching basketball though these last couple days, the Nets are playing they're like the Globetrotters. How they move the ball, it's like a varsity basketball team playing against 10-year-olds.
Yeah.
Like, it's just incredible how they move the ball. I think they're gonna do it. As much as I love the Suns and I want the Suns to play them in the finals, I want the Suns to win, but I just feel like everything is coming together for them literally at the right time, and sky's the limit.
Yeah, and then with the play-in in mind, with the East matchups, we kind of been talking about the West, just a couple ones over there. The Celtics and Wizards, 7 versus 8, and then Pacers, the 9 seed, Hornets, the 10 seed. I guess we'll start for the bottom and work up. Hornets, Pacers. Who do you like out of that one to try to play for the 8 seed?
Hornets, ball.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising that the Pacers are even, up there that far. But again, there's 15 teams on each side, and there's 10 teams with a seed. So basically, there's only 5 teams who don't get the nod to try to at least make the playoffs this year. But yeah, the Pacers they haven't really been relevant all year. The only person I could think of on that team is Malcolm Brogdon, because he used to be on the Bucks. So yeah, now that Ball is back, he looks good. He looks healthy. So they would end up playing the loser of Celtics Wizards. Who do you like coming out of that one?
Wizards.
Yeah,
Celtics lost what's his name?
Jaylen Brown.
And he's a big piece of that roster. I feel like
it's
gonna be hard don't get me wrong, Boston's always good no matter who they have on their team, but I just feel like Russ right now taking over, it's gonna be too much for Celtics to handle.
Yeah, I agree with you there. So yeah, so that would put the Wizards getting solidified as the 7th seed. So then that would have the Hornets and Celtics trying to play for that 8th seed. Who do you like out of that one?
Hornets.
Yeah, like you said, Jaylen Brown being out for the rest of the year.
If he was in, I'd have them at the 7th seed probably.
Yeah, but yeah, the Hornets, they kind of snuck in at the end of the year with the 10th seed. They probably would have ended up at the 7 or 8 seed if Ball never went down with his wrist injury.
Maybe higher than that.
Yeah. But yeah, they managed to hang on, at least get in the play-in. So, if they can get hot here with Ball, yeah, it'd be cool to see them with that 8 seed. But and then I guess the last NBA point I have going over to our Milwaukee Bucks, they solidified themselves as the 3rd seed. They ended up losing their last game yesterday to the Bulls. None of their starters played, so it didn't really matter at that point. They will be playing the number 6 seed Miami Heat in the first round of the playoffs. Again, the Miami Heat are the reigning Eastern Conference champs. Who do you like coming out of that matchup?
Oladipo's done for the year.
Yeah.
Bucks.
Yeah. Even though the Heat were kind of the Achilles heel for the Bucks last year, even during the regular season, the Heat just matched up really well with them. And the weird thing is they don't really have any guys gone. Or, like, they still got Tyler Hero, they still got Jimmy Buckets.
They pretty much have their whole team.
They got Adebayo. They got all the same guys. So I don't know what went wrong for them this year. Although last year they were either the 5 or the 6 seed and they went all the way to the finals. But also the East is a lot more stacked this year. When last year it was really, if you got through the Bucks, that was the only team you had to worry about. This year you got to worry about the Bucks, the Sixers, and the Nets. So yeah, I could hopefully the Bucks take them down in the first round this year.
But I wouldn't be surprised if they choke.
Yeah.
I mean, as sad as that is to say that, I mean, when it comes to the postseason, it's a flip of a coin really for the Bucks. They haven't proven to me as a fan that they are reliable when it comes to the postseason.
Yeah. I mean, if the Bucks can, because they'll have their first, it goes 2 games home, 2 games away, and then they flop back and forth for the last 3 games. As long as the Bucks can win their first 2 games at home, they'll be off to the races. But if they split them and they leave that door cracked open a little bit, I think they go down to Miami. Miami's going to be rocking because they know that they have a chance. So
full house fans.
And if they can't, well, because then at that point, if they lose one of their first 2 games at home, they'd have to wait till they come back home to finish the series, because even if they win or split the series down to Miami,
if they go 1-1 at home, they'd have to win. They'd have to sweep in Miami to win at home.
Yeah. So yeah, it's important for that, because obviously if they can win both games at home and then maybe if they drop one in Miami, that still leaves them winning it back at home for game 5. So yeah, they just got to come out. Milwaukee's got to come out early and get it done at home. But yeah, that's all I had for the NBA. I don't know if you had any other points to add.
Yeah, last point. J. Cole played in his first game overseas this weekend. He finished with 3 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists in just under 18 minutes of play for the 36-year-old. Pretty impressive for what he did over there. Watching him play, he's a basketball player, man. He can get out there and play. Granted, he's 36 years old. I feel like his time to get into the NBA is a little past, but hey, he's loving doing what he's doing. He's still making music and he's playing basketball. Shout out to him for going to get that done, because that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I know. Like, I've seen like memes and stuff about it, how everybody, I guess, had the bar set really high, and everybody's like, "Oh, he only scored 3 points and whatever, and this and that." It's like,
dude, he's playing professional basketball.
Like, would that be like if I went out in a semi-pro or like G League or NBA game, if I fucking scored 1 basket, I'd be off my rocker, happy about it.
Do you think you could score a basket in an NBA game?
No. I know we talked off the air. We talked about this last week. I kind of here, I'll pull up the scenario and I'll briefly mention it again, just because it's kind of a fun scenario. With the NBA playoffs, so I'll make an NBA playoff game. You win $1 million if you can make a single shot in the game, but if you don't, you die. So obviously, high risk, high reward. Do you take the challenge? The underlying things are neither team knows that about your challenge, so that means that the team you're playing on isn't obligated to pass you the ball. You still got to work to get open. It has to be a field goal. Free throws don't count. You can play as many minutes as you want, and you have 1 week to train for it. And both of us were right away. We're like, no, it wouldn't happen. 1 week to train, definitely not. Even a year to train, probably not.
Even 3 years, dude.
But yeah, especially with the extra intensity of playoff basketball, because both of us were like, well, there's 42 minutes in a game. You maybe play 8 to 10 minutes and you're gassed.
If that.
You basically gotta, the second you step across half court, try to go Curry range and get lucky because you got a little bit of space. Because as soon as you get inside the arc, you got hands in your face and you're basically shooting it becomes muscle memory for these guys, because in a lot of cases they probably see a fraction of the basket and they're like, okay, they don't even see the basket because like obviously like there's no like none of them wearing GoPros on the court, so you don't exactly know. But looking at like especially small guys like Curry, and they got a guy who's 6'10" putting his hands up, I guarantee they're more often than not he's draining threes and he can't even see the basket. He just knows where it is from muscle memory.
You see the glass, you see the backboard, and you know exactly where that is in the middle of that. So all you need to do is see one part of the glass and you know exactly where to put the ball.
Yeah.
For any average person who would take that challenge, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Well, that's just to say, who's to say the team even passes you the ball?
Exactly.
I'm open. Who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's an interesting
warm-ups,
scenario.
they'd
But
see you doing the layup drill. They'd be like, "This guy kid's not a player."
Everybody's dunking, and you're like, "Oh, I wish I could do that." Yeah.
What do we got over in the MLB?
Yeah, a couple things from the weekend. The Brewers, they managed to take one game in their series with the Braves. They stay above 500 with a 21-20 record. Kind of hit a slump over the past week and a half here, but tomorrow they'll be back on the road to Kansas City for a short 2-game series with the Royals. The Blue Jays, they are on a hot streak themselves, though, as they move to second in the AL East, winning 5 of their last 6. It's kind of interesting, actually, looking at the AL East. They have one of the tightest races in the league right now. The top 4 teams in that division are only 2 games apart from each other. So that's going to be really interesting to watch with the Red Sox, the Blue Jays, and the Yankees. I'm trying to think who the third team was, but just those 3 teams alone are all going to be at each other's throats throughout the season. San Francisco pitcher Alex Wood keeps his perfect season intact, moving to 5-0 on the year with a 4-1 win over the Pittsburgh Pirates yesterday. The Tampa Bay Rays cool down the hot New York Mets over the weekend as they sweep that 3-game series. And Mike Trout is still their early favorite for MVP. Currently has a batting of 333, and so OPS over 1. So yeah, he is still the favorite for MVP. Obviously, it's early in the year, but Mike Trout's name is always in the hat. So seeing him out in front, he's only going to get. I could see him only getting better throughout the year as he gets more at bats and dials things in. So yeah, not a whole lot from this weekend, but yeah, just a couple series to mention there, and the race for MVP heating up.
Yeah, it's baseball. The MVP race is kind of something that's almost more fun to watch than all the games until it hits the All-Star break.
Yeah, and obviously it's early, but we always joke that the Brewers always look really good. Then after the All-Star break, they fall apart. It looks like they're hitting kind of their skid early, which is good. You want to get your rough streak out of the way.
And the first month is the most meaningless. So you could lose all your games in the first month and still end up winning your division.
Yeah, exactly. So, and even like, for example, the Yankees, they at one point, I think they lost 15-20.
Now they're on a heater.
Yeah, now they're doing really good. So it's good to get your cold streak out of the way in April or May to heat up once September, October comes around. So long season, but yeah, we'll be on top of things as they come up. So, but yeah, going over to the NHL, crazy weekend of playoff hockey. What's some of the highlights from the weekend?
Yeah, so the playoffs started on Saturday there with Washington Capitals taking on the Boston Bruins. Hell of a game. Game ended up going to overtime where Nick Dowd scored on a goal from Oshie and Wilson as the two people getting the assists. What a hell of a game. Really physical. You knew that was going to happen with the East. It's kind of what you get when you have pretty much any team besides Pittsburgh and the Islanders are kind of the two teams who kind of are more skill based and stay out of the rough stuff. But Bruins Capitals, you're going to see all series long. Those guys, they went at it. I'm just looking to see how many hits they had in the game because I believe it was. So they had 92 hits in the game there. So that was pretty impressive. And Capitals squeak it out. Shot from the point gets tipped, ends up squeaking in, and in overtime they tell you growing up as a kid, which so many people don't really believe, but any shot's a good shot in overtime. Any shot you put on the net can end up going in. And that's kind of what happened for them. So they're up 1-0. Moving over to Sunday yesterday, you had 3 fucking intense games. It was amazing to watch. I was exhausted after watching all the games. I couldn't believe what happened. But let's start with the Islanders and Pittsburgh Penguins. Let's start there. So Islanders pick up Kyle Palmieri at the trade deadline from the New Jersey Devils. He ends up scoring the first goal to open the scoring and the last one in overtime to win the game for them. Huge acquisition for them picking up him. Sidney Crosby scores one of the fucking most impressive goals I've ever seen scored. One-handed guy on you, putting your stick out there, and then he turned his stick blade to the skinny side and hit it with the skinny side directly on the puck, which is only like this big, and he put it far side. One-handed. Just you can't count out Crosby, especially in the playoffs. He's a killer. I think that was his 70th goal, I think, in the playoffs, which is pretty impressive. But yeah, they ended up not getting it done. Their goalie shits the bed. He lets in 4 goals all in the same spot, all glove side high. 3 burnt him up high, and 1 went right underneath his arm, right on that same glove spot. So going forward, that might be the weakness to the Pittsburgh Penguins, and it's their goaltending. Jari shit the bed. So are they going to go to Matt Murray in game 2? It's going to be interesting to see what Sullivan does over there as the head coach for that. And then Minnesota and the Vegas Golden Knights, one of the most amped up first round matchups that we got, as the Minnesota Wild seem to be the Vegas Golden Knights kryptonite coming into the league. Since the Vegas has been in the league, the Minnesota Wild are 13-2-2 against Vegas, and against the rest of the league, they are 48-10. So seems like the Wild have their number, and they did again yesterday. This is going to be the goaltending battle of the playoffs right here. You have Marc-Andre Fleury and you have Cam Talbot, excuse me. Both goalies stood on their head. Fleury, if he didn't stand on his head like he did yesterday, like a man possessed, it would have been 4-0. Sucks how they ended up losing in the playoffs. Every mistake is crucial, and what happened for them to lose the game. Pietrangelo, who came over from St. Louis to Vegas this last year, who the assistant captain, failed to clear the puck, made a mistake, and the puck goes right to the front of the net, and your guy has to lay out to try to block the shot, goes off a stick, goes right between Fleury, game over. And that's all it takes is one mistake, is it seemed to be the one mistake of the hockey game, and it ends up in the back of your net in overtime. So Minnesota Wild coming out with a huge win in game 1. Game 2 is going to be I feel like Vegas is going to be coming for blood. It's going to be a good one to watch. And then last night's last matchup, which I think this is going to be the best series of the first round. Just as you've never had the Battle of Florida in the playoffs before. The last 2 games of the season, if for people who don't know, these teams played each other. One game resulted in 164 minutes of penalties. The next game after didn't really have that many penalty minutes, but there was still fights and So these two teams amped it up right before the playoffs. Last night they play. Tampa Bay Lightning gets Nikita Kucherov and Steven Stamkos back onto their roster, as Kucherov sat out all year after having offseason hip surgery. Hasn't played since the Stanley Cup Finals of last season. Gets out there and scores 3 points in his first game back, like he hasn't missed a beat. Dude is unbelievable hockey player to watch. It's really impressive to not, playing in a game and then stepping into the playoffs first game and you're 2 goals and an assist like it's nothing. This game, however, was an absolute battle. Every single whistle, you're having scrums. There were a lot of penalties, a lot of 4-on-4 play. The refs in this series seem to be letting a lot of it go, which is really nice. In the Pittsburgh series, the refs kind of been calling a lot. It's nice to see the refs let the boys play. You kind of establish in that first period what you're going to let go and what you're not going to let go. And after the first whistle, I think it was like 8 seconds in, all 5 guys on both teams were at each other's throats, punching each other in the faces and stuff. So the fans down there were absolutely wild. Coming off of that game, though, Sam Bennett for the Florida Panthers has been assessed a 1-game sussy. He's going to miss the next one for a boarding call on Blake Coleman. For those of you who didn't see this hit earlier in the game, Florida Panthers winger Anthony Duclair had his back and he got ran from behind into the boards pretty bad. They called it a 2-minute boarding penalty. Nothing really happened except for that really sparked some flares and people were coming after Ryan McDonough, the guy who did it. Later in the game, Sam Bennett sees the opportunity to go run a guy on Tampa, face plants him from behind right into the glass and drops him down, and they call that one a 2-minute as well. However, they are giving him a suspension. I don't know what's the difference there between the 2 calls. Both guys are going full speed, fucking rocking people from behind into the boards, and they tell you when you see the guy's numbers, you're not supposed to be the dickhead who ends somebody's career by putting him headfirst into the. You don't want to paralyze somebody or break their back by hitting somebody in the back. So this series is heating up. I want to say they had 100 hits last night. Let me check the game notes here, bud. Oh my God. So Vegas and Wild actually had the most hits. They had 129 hits. So
Wow.
that is so many hits. That's more than the minutes played in the game. 120 minutes in the game. Or no, 60 minutes. Excuse me.
So maybe 2 hits a minute.
And big hits too. But yeah, Tampa ends up winning this one. Big question mark is for the NHL, for those of you who don't know cap rules and regulations and stuff like that. So during the season, you do have a cap limit that you do have to stay under. With Steven Stamkos and Kucherov being on like a long-term injury reserve type of thing, their cap did not count against the team for the season. So now that they're in the playoffs, salary cap does not exist. And if it were to be, they'd be $19 million over the cap right now. So a lot of people are complaining about that as they kind of pulled a fast one and loaded up their team and then have 2 superstars come off whose cap didn't touch all season and they're stepping onto the ice for them in the playoffs. People are really, really angry about that. And I guess we'll see what the NHL decides to do moving forward, if this is something that they put a stop to or whatnot. But yeah, that's going to be, I think, the best series. And then tonight, Blues Avalanche get underway and Carolina and Nashville get underway. Both of those should be a great series. Boston and Washington kick it off game 2 tonight as well. And early talks of the St. Louis Avalanche series, as many people see this is going to be a one-sided affair, especially late news coming out last night. Top scorer for the St. Louis Blues had to enter COVID protocol last night. So he has to pass 2 tests before tonight's game and get cleared to play. Who knows if he's going to be back for game 1. If he's not, it's going to be tough for them to get a win, even though it's going to be tough for them to get a win anyway in this series. But Ryan O'Reilly of the St. Louis Blues came out and said, this is going to be a blast. We're going to have fun and we're going to beat them. So he's calling the shots out in the public in round 1, and we'll see if they can back it up. And that's really all I got in the NHL. NHL record. First 3 games in the postseason all went to overtime. I thought the fourth one last night was as well. And then Braden Point scored with 1:14 left, which kind of sealed the deal down there. But yeah, this is the best playoffs I think I've ever watched in my entire life playing hockey, because how they did the division thing this year where you're playing the same teams, you're seeing a lot of shit from the beginning of the year that teams remember coming out, and it's going to be hell of a playoffs. I think for whoever wins this, I feel like this is going to be one of the toughest Stanley Cups to win, as you have loaded weapons all over the league.
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to be a fun playoffs to watch. And again, thanks to everybody who joined our bracket challenge. We ended up having 25 people join, so that's awesome. I know 20 was kind of the mark we were looking to hit. 25 was the final number. Again, it's going to be fun coming down to the end to see who's going to be on the top of that. Again, we'll be giving out some prizes to our top 3 winners, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, always fun to get into little competitions like that. And like you said, it's going to be a really fun playoffs down to the wire. And I think it's going to be interesting come round 3, once teams who haven't played each other in over a year finally see the ice with each other. So yeah, it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah. Oh shit. Thanks everyone for coming by. Sorry, I just spilled some fucking soda on the goddamn laptop here. But yeah, thanks for everyone for stopping by. We really appreciate all you guys do. Us as a community, we reached 1,000 followers on Instagram. We put out a post. We're very thankful and appreciative for all that you guys continue to do, stopping by and listening and giving us feedback, comments, whether it's through social media or reaching out to us in person outside of this to give us some input on what you think and all that type of stuff. I know this is one of the most fun things that I've ever done in my life, getting to do this every single day. So this has been a blast. And yeah, just feel free to stop on to our YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You can find us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, anywhere and everywhere in a league of their own podcasts. And yeah, don't forget to follow, subscribe, and like the channel. And yeah, we should be back tomorrow.
Yeah, sounds good. We will see you guys tomorrow.